Hello everyone, welcome to The Way It Is Naturally. My name is Perry Larrabee. I am the CEO of Bull Fierce Training and the host of this show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Tonight we're going to talk about a subject that seems to pop up every now and then. I'm not sure why, but people seem to be mystified by how to train several different muscle groups that appear to be treated differently than everything else. Anyways, we're going to get back into that subject in just a moment. Welcome back everybody, sorry about that. Anyways, once again, my name is Perry Larrabee. I'm the host of The Way It Is Naturally. And we are going to be talking about calves, forearms, and abs. Before I get into that, a little bit of an update. Not sure, I hope everybody's doing fine. We're sitting here, almost through October. So less than a couple of months till Christmas. I hope everybody's able to still train. Hope your gym is staying open. And for those that it isn't, I pray that it will open for you soon. And for those that may be looking at the possibility of gyms shutting down again, I hope you're preparing ahead of time. And now we got a little bit of forewarning. So best to do your homework and start preparing ahead just in case. Fact is, the face of training may end up changing permanently. If I personally believe a lot of what's going on is just ridiculous, but if the powers would declare certain things, we may be left on our own to arrange for training, and the whole world will be looking at fitness training, whether it be bodybuilding or competing for fitness shows or just trying to get in shape in a whole different light. Anyways, what else? I'm not sure if for anybody who's been following along, that I just turned 60 and I came back from some terrible sicknesses. But I've been at this game for 43 years, both as a trainer and trainee myself. And I am planning to do a show in the spring on May 29th here in Edmonton and under the WNBF banner. And I decided I was going to get myself just in a little bit better shape before I start. I was in great shape before COVID hit. And I had made some tremendous gains from where I was, having 2 years of which 8 months I spent in the hospital and almost, better than 14 months of basically sitting in a chair at home because I couldn't do anything else. But I made tremendous strides, and then, of course, COVID came along, and that was really disheartening. And so anyways, I came back after that. We started back, we were allowed back in the gym somewhere around July, in that area anyways, so I started training again. And because originally my goal was to get back on the stage in October. There was a show slated for the end of October, so that got changed. And then there wasn't anything scheduled, and then they finally came out a little while ago and said, okay, there's a show coming on. Of the shows that were available, I decided this one on May 29th was going to be a good fit for me. So anyways, that's what the goal is, and I decided that I was going to get into decent shape before starting my actual, and I don't mean contest prep as in dieting, but I was getting myself in slightly better shape before I started with an effort to even put on more size. But I was going to keep myself in a relatively good condition the whole time. So basically probably operating on a minor surplus, but kind of moderating it or modulating it up and down depending on how things were. And how I decided to go about doing that, because I've talked at length at times about different types of body fat measurement. Of course, my first and foremost tool is going to be the mirror. That's what I always tell everybody, use the mirror. But I want to create this as kind of more like an experiment. I am going to be documenting my eating, doing lots of videos. Hopefully my gym is up and running, showing actual training footage. And I am going to be as well, I'm going to be doing a DEXA series of DEXA scans, of which I did my first one today. I won't get the results till next week. So hopefully maybe by next Friday, I'll be able to tell you exactly where things are sitting. And that'll give me an idea of how I think, DEXA scans, I mean, from a personal point of view, because I've never had one done. I can tell you right now, all forms of measurement have degrees of error. Of the ones that are available to most people, it's probably the best one out there. And I had that done today, and my goal is to have it done once a month or once every 2 months leading up to the show. And it's just so I can see and take pictures as well, and obviously cataloging my strength and how things are going in the gym. Putting it together as basically a complete picture. I'm going to probably put it together a documentary at the end of that through Bullfierce Media, which is my media company. And I am going to, obviously this is going to be the end part of my book that's coming out in the spring. What else? Anyways, my cat's being a bit of an ass, pardon me. Anyways, yeah, so that's going to be part of the whole shtick. And hopefully I have some good results. My thoughts here before the tests come back, if I were to look at myself, I did a minor carb depletion and carb load. I mean, I only did basically a form of a diet, which wasn't a wholehearted 100% contest diet at all, but it was definitely more than what I would do if I was strictly off season. And I basically only did it for 6 weeks. I started out at 218 pounds. And I weighed in today at the DEXA scan after doing a carb. I actually carb depleted, and when I did when I finished off, which was Wednesday night, I took a measurement Thursday morning, bright and early, first thing, and I was 200.8, so 18 pounds difference. And then when I carved back up, and just before when I went for my DEXA scan today, I was basically 204 pounds. And I didn't go crazy on the carb up, and I'm planning to do some pictures tomorrow. So I did a carb up, I'll be doing a little bit more, dropping in some more carbs, keeping my water down, and just to take some shots. I may or may not display them. For also those that don't know, I had some major surgeries done because of my illness, and I have actually severe dual herniated abdomen, which I'm not pleased with. Basically, ruins my physique in many ways, but it's not going to deter me from doing this show. But I may or may not release those pictures depending on how I feel about them. Or I may, blotch some things out short term until I get myself down as lean as possible and see. I mean, the fact is, one of my other goals about this whole project is I'm going to set up for an assessment to have the surgery, because this is going to be a major surgery. All my surgeries have been major. Also a bit of enlightenment for people. I almost lost my life on 2 occasions. Once I was on life support through what happened to me. And I did have an assessment done at one time, and a doctor told me a little over a year ago that hernia surgery could actually kill me. So I'm weighing things out, and I want to get second and third opinions. If my thought pattern is if I get myself my absolute best condition, see how things look, and then have a doctor take a look at me, and he can decide, what he thinks, and I can decide what I can or I can't live with. Because bodybuilding has been my whole life. It's also how I make my living. And, maybe, as we all tend to be, a lot harder on ourselves than other people might be, but I always expect perfection. So that was always been my goal. I never trained for a show just to see how I would do. I trained to win. I always accepted if I didn't, I won some, I lost some. I always placed well, and but if I'm looking at this glaring thing that's just not going to look appealing and a problem because it is major, I will be showing you my before. I will be showing you some form of pictures just to show you where I've come, and you will see for yourself just how herniated I was and what I've done in the short term. But anyways, we're already almost 10 minutes into this. I'm sorry for that, but I thought that you need to be brought up to speed. And we're going to talk about 3 muscle groups that are, for many people, they seem to be a bit of a mystery, And there also tend to be stubborn muscle groups. Some people either have them or don't. In the case of calves, for example, some people either naturally gifted, with good calves, and others aren't. No matter what they do. Abdominals the same way. Some people, they'll tell you, they train, unending reps or sets or, lots of weight, and not an abdominal muscle to be defined, nothing, And forearms, some people just, they don't know what it is. They have no forearm development, and even if they have good biceps and triceps, they got these skinny little forearms. So we're going to get into this subject, and we're going to talk about those muscle groups and what I think, about the analogies that people are making and the mistakes that they're making along with it. So we're going to take them one at a time. So we're going to start, first of all, with forearms, okay? So most people, I don't think it really occurs to them that, many of the exercises you do, providing you do a lot of free weight stuff, automatically bring in your forearms. So some people, there's two different groups of people that approach it because of that. Some people say, well, because you basically use them all the time, you have to train them even more to get them to grow. Then you have the other group of people that, seem to think that they don't need to be trained at all. And I'm going to tell you, I've always had decent forearms, definitely in proportion to the rest of my physique. And I've been around enough people and trained enough people to say, depending on what style of training you do, you don't really need to train your forearms, okay? I want you to think about this. If you're the type of, now, here's where it doesn't necessarily apply as much. If you're the type of bodybuilder, which I think is an incomplete bodybuilder, who does almost all their training on machines, you're not going to get the same type of, even though you still got to grab the handles, you do not get the same amount of work on your forearms as doing a ton of free weight does. You just don't, okay? So those type of people, maybe you're not getting overworked. Maybe you could use some forearm work. Not necessarily, but and some of it's going to be genetic, right? Okay. For those that believe, for those that do a lot of free weight work, and I mean, the heavy work too, they're doing, free weight chins or whatever, and they're doing deadlifting, and they're doing bent over rowing, along with their bicep and tricep work. You are already doing so much for your forearms. If anything, you're already in a state of overtraining. So you need to rest them as often as you can. And maybe it's best that you set up your training schedule so that you're having some rest in between, working on, maybe going from upper body to lower body or whatever. There's things you can do within the training regime itself, to minimize having to always work on your forearms. If you feel you need to do some forearm work, or if you're one of these people who doesn't do much in the way of forearms because you do a lot of machine work, maybe, it's really one of those muscles where there's not a whole lot to do. Yeah, you can do like some people and tie a weight on the end of a rope and just, kind of roll it up and roll it down. Or you just basically do forearm curls off the end of a bench or off your knees. You don't need to be fancy, and you certainly don't need to be doing untold amount of repetitions. I still believe it's the same deal. If you want, maximum, you want the absolute epitome of muscular development in your forearms, train them HIIT style, and you train them the same way. Minimum amount of sets, a low to medium rep range, heavy as you can in good form, and taking it right past failure. You're going to feel a burn. Forearms, they burn even more than calves do when you take them to that point. They have the ability to bring tears to your eyes. That's how much it can hurt when you're doing forearms. But it's a good hurt. It's a good feeling, So that's my take on forearms. If you're going to train them, do not be doing high repetitions. Don't be looking for a whole bunch of fancy exercises. Stick to the basics. Basically doing wrist curls, reverse wrist curls, forward wrist curls. That's it. Okay? Minimum amount of sets. Hit it hard, get it done, get it finished. For the rest of you, if you're doing lots of free weight movements and you're not using wrist straps to hold your grip, you're already developing lots of grip strength, working your forearms continually. Both sides of your forearm. So you don't need to do the extra work, and I would stay away from it. Let's go to calves next. We're going to save abdominals for last. That seems to be a muscle group that both men and women seem to be just dwelling on, especially in many of these Facebook groups. I don't know why people are so caught up in abdominals. I think it's the be-all and end-all of muscles. And to be honest with you, most of the people you'll see out and about, and you don't see their abdominals. You see their arms, their back, their chest, their legs. So you see it very little, unless you're either naked beside them or you're at the beach or where the case might be. Anyways, a nice flat stomach. We're going to get into the abs in a minute. So let's talk about calves. Excuse me. Calf muscles, once again, it's one of those things, you got to think about it. You are on your feet, at least many people are on your feet, all day long. Every time you take a step, you're doing some form of a calf raise. You're working your calves. That means you're already doing high repetitions. High repetitions with body weight. You can't get around it, and for those people that are doing countless amount of aerobic work, you're doing even more. So, if your calves are not growing, chances are you're overtraining. And but I don't believe in doing absolutely nothing for calves. Okay, I believe in doing at least a little bit of work, but I would definitely tell you that you need to focus on lower repetitions, heavy weight, get completely away from the repetition thing, because you're already doing that and they're not growing. Or you're blessed. I can tell you right now, I come from a family, for example, of people. This is a phenomenon where you almost wish for a moment you were an overweight person. I have 8 brothers and sisters. And I can tell you, every one of my sisters and brothers, they're all been overweight their whole life. And every one of them have gigantic calves. I'm just saying. The thing is, that tells you 2 things. First of all, they aren't running around. They're walking around slowly. And they're carrying a lot of extra weight. So what does that tell you? Lots of weight, low workload. It makes sense, right? So if you're going to do the work, hit them hard. I would not be doing calf raises. Even 10 reps to me is high. I'd be looking for a goal range of around 8. I've always done my calf range in 6 to 8. Even though I took the other route compared to the rest of my family, I took care of myself, started training from the time I was 17. I've always had pretty good calves. Definitely in proportion with my whole body. I've always had one of the best set of calves in every show. They get very defined. I have an extremely good outer calf. Extremely good outer calf. And it has never been a hard muscle for me to grow. And I've always done lower repetitions and as much weight as I can. For example, it's not an astounding amount of weight, and it all depends if people talk about different form, right? But I'll do, for example, my whole calf regime right now consists of just 1 set. And like I said, I train HIIT style. So I do a warm-up set for calves, period. Then I do 1 set on the 45-degree angled leg press, because we don't have a standing calf machine. I like them, and we don't have a sitting one either, although I don't like a lot of sitting calf machines. The old style, which is actually a design that I'm making here of my Bull Fierce equipment manufacturing, which we started up a little while ago. It's going to be an older style, not the leverage style. I like that, but I don't have that either. So I'm kind of reduced down to down to a leg press version, combined with working off a calf block, either doing a donkey raise, which I'll get into a little discussion in a moment, or just basically, pound them out a little bit to finish them off. So what I do is I do a quick superset, and I do a 45-degree leg press, and currently right now I think I'm 4 plates aside. So 8 plates total, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. For my body leniency and for my size and the fact that I'm completely natural, I'm happy with that. I've never been the strongest guy around in any movement, so it's never bothered me. How I look when I get on that stage and whether I win or not, that's the only thing that matters. Anyway, so I do that, and I always work in that 6 to 8 rep range. That's it. And I will, if I don't have a partner, which I don't usually, but if I don't have anybody around to help me force any out, I will throw a couple up. Basically use my whole thigh, get the weight up to the end of my toes, and do a really slow negative. Do that 2 or 3, and my calves are screaming by the time I finish that. And then what I'll do is I'll literally go over to the power rack, and they have a step built in there, and I'll get on there and I will just continue until basically till I almost cry. And that's it. My calves are done. I don't do anything more. That's the end of the story. If I was somebody that didn't have, that if I could do another exercise, I would. So if I had a good seated machine, I'd do that. You can also do a standing calf out of on a block out of a Smith machine. I don't like it as much. If you have access to a standing calf machine, that's the way to go. And another great exercise, which many people don't do anymore, which I still love, but I just don't use a partner because you need it, is doing donkey calf raises, where basically you're bent over on a 90-degree, have your forearms off a bench and you're on a calf block, and you have one or two people, so basically one sitting as far onto the edge of your hips as possible, and another one maybe a little further in front, depending on how much weight you can use. And you basically do calf raises like that. It's a great exercise, kind of fun to do too. And we used to do them all the time, but you need partners for that. Great exercise. And of course, the seated calf machine, whether it be the newer style, hammer strength style, whatever, where they work with a lever, or whether you're going to work on a straight setup, which is the design I'm working on right now. So that's what I would do. 6 to 8 rep range. I would only do one set, but if you want to do volume training, like you said, I think I already did, but we'll probably do another segment on volume training. What I think is optimal. I don't believe in doing 4 or 5 sets of anything, but if you feel you need to go there, then you do that, and we can talk about rep ranges and sets and that on another broadcast. That's it for that. Okay, now we're going to talk about abdominals. Of course, these subject, obviously it's about, I don't know, some people have just equated, having great abdominals to being you're just in just phenomenal condition, which is a load of crap. Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of skinny people out there with great abdominals, and they are not in great physical condition. They're not strong. They're not in shape, even from a cardio point of view, nothing. So it's not an indicator of your health, your fitness, or anything else. But I do understand the desire to want to have a nice, tight, flat stomach, and some abdominal definition would be nice. What you see in most of if you go into the Facebook photographs or in a lot of the magazines, that the abdominals that you're seeing in today's athletes, that's not even natural. I can tell you right now, you're lucky if you see 1 in 1,000 people have natural abdominals like that. And they're usually very skinny people. Okay, they're not overly large bodybuilders. The ones that are, it's because it's drug induced. It's like many things. And it's not a particularly pleasing thing, especially when they get into the off season. Well, many of them just get fat, period. But once you start putting some body fat on top of that, they just look like they have a big gut. So it's not the ideal way. The ideal way is just to have a nice, flat, tight stomach, and have some delineation between your rows of abdominals. That's ideal to me. And from a bodybuilding point of view, when you get on stage, that means you got the smallest waist to the biggest shoulder ratio, which is always going to be more appealing than some thick, blocky, abdominal-laden waistline. And you're starting to see this in both men and women, and you have to know that's not natural from a woman at all. I don't care how athletic she is, it's drug-induced. Okay, so why shoot for something like that? It's not natural. It's not pretty, and you want to minimize your oblique development as well. Yes, it's nice to have that kind of flare to the side where you basically your abdominal wall and your obliques and your intercostals all grouping together. That looks really nice, but it doesn't need to be thickened out, because that's what happens. Okay, so when we're attacking, if you don't have naturally defined abdominals, you don't want to be working with lots of weight. Most of the movements you can do, I would personally, and how I teach my clients, is just to medium repetitions and work in kind of a tri-set fashion, because I have a very limited amount of exercises that I believe are the best for this. You don't need to invent exercises to create abdominals. There's no magic exercise that creates abdominals. Anybody tells you that is telling you a bunch of baloney. Okay, that goes for any body group. Anybody tells you they got these exercises, this is the one, this will do. No. if you did all the core exercises, you don't even need all that fancy stuff that I see people do all the time. But in the case of abdominals, it's even more important. Keep it basic. You need a movement. Attack it 3 ways. You can't go wrong. So you need a movement, basically moving your torso up, another movement moving your leg up, and if you could create some type of a rope movement working your intercostals. That's all you need. So my idea and my ideal setup for most people and myself, the one that I do, is I'll do leg raises, and that can be either done off the end of a flat bench or degrees on an incline. So instead of going, adding lots of weight in any form or fashion, or doing untold amount of repetitions, I will just increase the incline. Okay. Same goes for the sit-up. You can do a 3/4 sit-up. You don't necessarily have to go all the way down. I think that can be a little bit hard on your lower back, but as long as it's controlled, under a very slow rhythm, you shouldn't have too much to worry about. And then do either crunches on the floor with your legs over a bench, or you can do a form of a rope crunch off the end of a cable. We'll go into these exercises on another broadcast. But those 3 together, to me, are ideal. 1 or 2 trisets, that is it. So that's how, to me, and as far as repetitions, abdominals is probably the only one that I would allow people to go a little higher than I do in some of the other weighted movements that I choose. But 15, 20 repetitions is the absolute max. I don't believe in doing, I see people talk about they did 100 or 500 every night, or why? You don't need that much. Don't tell me you need that much to keep your waist feeling tight and trim. You don't. There's a saying going around. I don't know who even invented this, because it never was around when I started training, but abs are made in the kitchen. Well, they are to a degree. And it is true. If you aren't lean to at least a certain degree, it doesn't matter how much abdominal work you have, or you do, or how gifted you are with your abdominals. If you don't keep your diet in check to a certain degree, have a certain degree of leniency, you're not going to see them. Okay, so you need to keep your body fat level at a reasonable state. Train in a rhythmic fashion with not a high repetitions, but always best, in my opinion, to do either supersets or trisets. You can do it on straight sets as well. It'll still work, but to me, it's one of those things where you don't want to give it any rest. You just want to get in there and get it done. So a couple of trisets, set of leg raises, set of sit-ups, and set of rope crunches. Twice around, 15, 20 reps each. That's it, done. If your gut is not feeling tight after that and wanting to not do any more, you're not doing it right. Okay? Which, we talk about the mind-to-muscle connection. You need the mind-to-muscle connection in order to make this all work. Anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up as far as the talk on that. Anyways, what do I want to tell people? Yeah, I'd like to hear some discussion on some of the subject matter that I bring up on here. I'd love to hear from you, in the comments section. You can always go back and check out some of my other videos very soon, because the equipment is being fabricated now. I'll be doing some more demonstrations here right in the gym. But I would love to hear from people on my Facebook page, which is Bull Fierce Training. Also Instagram and Twitter as well. You can contact me there. Please like it and subscribe to my channel here. Remember, this channel is about several things, but mainly it's about promoting natural bodybuilding and fitness. There's already enough out there for everybody else. If you want to talk about being natural, or be proud about being natural, you have to support the natural people. And there's, there's myself, and there's other people. There's tons of people talking about drugs as if it was candy. Why do you want to support? I see tons of people who obviously aren't drug users themselves, and you have no problem supporting that. So get out and support your natural people. Get the movement going. Now is the time, because drugs are not the way to go. They're not the way to go. They're starting to cause more and more problems. And, let's face it. This is about, if it's truly about fitness and making you the healthiest person you can be, drugs have no place in that mantra. They don't. So I'm hoping that everybody will like and subscribe to Bull Fierce Training here on YouTube, or on my and also on my Facebook page. You can always contact me in any of these places. If you want to be part of this broadcast and talk about a subject, contact me in any of those places. Let me know that you want to come on. I'll send you, a link, and you can join me actually on the broadcast. You can always be part of the Spotlight Show, which is all about people coming on and telling their story, about their success stories, and whether they're big or small, about how they, training changed their life. Give a chance to, talk about yourself and feel good about what you've done and inspire others. All you have to make sure is that you want to inspire others, and B, that you are natural. Because I only deal with natural people. I'm sorry about that, but I do not bend that line whatsoever. I don't train people who don't work out naturally. It's just, to me, it's like a war. I have no place for drug use in my life. Okay. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say. You can also go to my website. Please look me up. You're not going to find anybody who's more adept at training individuals. How many people do you know have 43 years of training expertise behind them? I also have a degree in lab medicine, and I also have several bodybuilding titles to my name, many of which I actually competed and won as a natural, beating drug users. So it can be done. You just have to be passionate about it and be dedicated. That's all it is. Be passionate and be dedicated. So go to bull-fierce training, so that's bull-fiercetraining.com. Look out what I got for packages. Contact me. We can discuss what it is you want. I do everything from people that just want to lose weight, get into better shape, right up to contest preparations, right into actually food preparations for people for shows. So if you're interested in any of that, get a hold of me. Once again, my name is Perry Larrabee, and I am the CEO of Bull Fierce Training, and I am the host of this show. This is the way it is naturally. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back with another set of shows next Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And that is going to be a wrap. So I would like you to get out there, train hard, train Bull Fierce. God bless.